Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves in the midst of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, having started a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And Dragon, tonight we are talking about the first episode of the latest MCU property. I swear to God, I'm going to have to resist from Dari. But Dragon, I'm actually kind of optimistic about this one. We're talking Miss Marvel. And folks, if you've been paying attention to my activity on Plus&Us, I have not been on Kenobi. I kind of like pieced out of Moon Knight. I don't know, like the Disney Plus shows just haven't been grabbing me. And Dragon, I don't want to say this thing's a masterpiece. I certainly think there's one problem character that I'm curious if you and I agree on. But I will say with Miss Marvel, just to kind of give a broad thesis statement, I'm really digging the family stuff. And Dragon, I have a feeling our boy might just be the heart of the whole damn show, and I'm stoked.
Well, we know there's a big event coming up for him, so he's surely going to factor in at least an episode, you'd imagine.
So Dragon, let's do you want to introduce the saga of it all just right off the bat,
okay,
just to get people up to speed?
All right, so just to cover it, because hence kind of our first image here, I don't think we're going to go as Saagar heavy on all the images, but at least for this first one.
He's going to be the key to everything, Dragon. He's like Jar Jar Binks.
Well, maybe let's not frame him like that, but yeah.
I know.
So of course, Tiki and I, we're friendly with the folks at the Sketch Comedy YouTube channel, Just Giggle It, and they have a lot of great kind of comedy players, mostly from the U.S. The United Citizens Brigade, sketch comedy improv group. Sorry. And they formed a little sketch troupe, and essentially they made it like they kind of started their channel, did a whole bunch of basically the videos that SNL should have been doing when they were having their down period. And essentially JGI kind of did Just Giggle It did comedy better than most in the short form, and they have like a number of players that we love and adore, and we've dedicated some theme months to. And of course, one of those key players, very much the glue to many a JGI sketch, is the great Saagar Shaikh, who basically is the gentleman with the beard and the glasses who's getting married in this show. Yes, the southeastern kind of a comic genius who is now he basically upgraded to the MCU. They put our boy into the MCU.
So Dragon, here's the thing with this show. It is impossible to judge this show objectively, right?
Well,
because there is a glaringly obvious, we have some bias going into this thing.
I mean, I don't know. I think with that character, it's biased for sure. But I think so far he doesn't have a
anything they do with that character, Dragon.
Yeah, that character, but still, I don't think it means like our opinions on the show are going to be biased.
No, I hear you. But that being said, like I said, I am very drawn to the family stuff. I think it's the best part of the episode that we saw. I'm curious about how the power set's going to work. I think they gave us just enough. Dragon, oh God, the character that I'm a little mixed on, Dragon. Well, let's just say we don't talk about Bruno. No.
Really? That's the one that didn't do it for you? I had a different one in mind.
Who do you have in mind?
Well, again, I'm not saying the character. I have fears for this character. I'm not really against any of the characters. This one, I could see it going wrong, possibly. The mother.
Okay, well, the mother to me kind of strikes me as like I could see your concerns, but right now I'm kind of like she's in the turning red territory for me, where I could see an arc happening.
I mean, I hope so. I'm just saying this first. There's some logic issues I'm having with the mother that are kind of concerning me, but we'll get there.
Okay, so with that in mind, do you have any background stuff just beyond the Saagar of it all, or should we just jump right into it?
Put me on the spot, thanks. No, Tiki, I don't have background because we don't do that on this show.
Well, I'm sorry, Dragon. I'm a little rusty.
Yeah, because someone's been ducking out of them.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, overall, I did have thoughts on the show, though.
What?
I did have thoughts on the show, though.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I thought this was a solid introduction. Kind of great status quo, established. Seeing the MCU kind of world building. Kind of fandom with the world building of the fandom within the MCU of its own property, which is a really fun idea, and very much we're gonna like a lot of really fun post Endgame stuff. So yeah, I think this is a kind of approaching it from a different angle, like we kind of saw on the more serious side of things with Falcon Winter Soldier, and here we're kind of seeing the more playful side of things. So I'm really liking it.
So I've got kind of like a ridiculous sort of conspiracy theory in my head. You want to know what it is?
Trepidatiously, but sure. Yeah, what do you
got? All right. So one of the first things we're going to break down with this episode, I think one of the big calling cards of the show now, I think, is the style.
Yeah.
Dragon, for me, the style is very Edgar Wright. Very Edgar Wright. And is it a coincidence that a giant Ant-Man statue just happened to play a big role at the end of the episode?
It's not just the Ant-Man statue. Ant-Man has a very big role in this show, at least in the background. They kind of established something really important with Ant-Man. So yeah, but there's definitely a lot of Ant-Man. The Edgar Wright thing.
Hold on, I missed that. What they established with Ant-Man.
Yeah. So there was mind you, it wasn't like a huge plot thing, but it was just kind of like a really interesting. It was a big status quo. Like we filled in a big blank for Phase 4 of the MCU, where Scott Lang's podcast. So that's how everyone learned about what happened during
Scott Lang's podcast.
Yes, but Scott Lang's podcast.
Big Me, dear God! Me. Oh, that fills me with joy.
So the idea is that Scott Lang.
We need to get a viral marketing thing with that. Paul Rudd needs to jump on that.
I really want him to do that. Now the I know HBO Max does that sort of thing, so I wonder if Disney Plus could get into that sort of thing because that'd be perfect. Because HBO Max absolutely would do that. So that's the thing. So I'm hoping. So it was kind of during the opening where we see that Kamala Khan, she's a YouTuber, creates content and videos on the MCU, but within the MCU, so they actually count. And that'll raise an idea that really grabs me, and I love that. I mean, in regards to the Edgar Wright style, I mean, you got to tell me, outside of Scott Pilgrim, does Edgar Wright do stuff like that in the other movies?
Oh yeah, totally. It's kind of his calling card to a certain extent.
Really? So he does art style things kind of like that in all the other movies.
I mean, not necessarily like the art style thing, but just certainly like the I don't know, Dre. It kind of switches off from movie to movie. Like the Cornetto trilogy, for example, it's all about kind of like frenetic. Like, honestly, it's more in the editing than it is the visual style. But I would say the editing is very on brand for Wright.
Okay.
Because Wright just has like a certain rhythm to his movies that this kind of adheres to.
Right. Okay. Let's see. What was I? Oh, right. So, yeah. I mean, in that opening, we established a couple things, and again, we kind of have her kind of like we're seeing a very much kind of a boots on the ground, like it's kind of the everyman, average Joe, kind of approaching kind of like Phase 4 of the MCU, like in a post Endgame world. Which, yeah, Endgame happened, and man on the street learned a lot about pretty much all the heroes in the MCU are now known quantities because of that. Mainly thanks to Scott Lang's podcast.
Okay, that's awesome. That's
the thing. So the idea of Scott Lang, he just kind of got on there. It says that
Dragon, he spilled the beans.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But the point is, Scott Lang is interviewing people, assumably other heroes, and just probably just kind of like his friends and whoever is. It sounds like Scott Lang might be becoming like kind of the superhero version of Joe Rogan, but a lot more.
Oh no!
However, a lot more PC though.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks. So, regardless, so that's kind of fun. I wonder if when we get to Ant-Man 3, Quantumania, perhaps that'll be like kind of a thing we tee up in the status quo shift. Things like he's doing his podcast with his daughter, maybe. Because I mean, it is called Big Me, Little Me, so perhaps Little Me is the daughter. I don't know.
Oh my God, that would be adorable.
I'd like to think it's like, hey, I lost all this time with my daughter because of Endgame, because I was like the one guy
who just dives into a daddy-daughter project.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Dragon! That right there is my headcanon right there.
So what if it was like, basically what if it was kind of like what Kevin Smith's doing with one of his podcasts, with the vegan podcast he does with his daughter. So what if less Joe Rogan, more, what if he's the Kevin Smith of the
There
MCU?
we go. There we go. I am way more in tune with Scott Lang being the Kevin Smith of the
Well,
MCU.
the guest thing is where I was getting the Joe Rogan thing, the interview thing. That's because Kevin
No,
Smith
for
doesn't
sure,
do the
for
interview
sure.
as often. Unfortunately, Kevin Smith doesn't do the interview as often as I loved him when he did the interviews, but I still love him now. It's just a different
Well,
vibe.
we could just imagine Scott Lang in that period of the Kevin Smith podcast game.
Sure. So regardless of
All
all
right.
that's happening, the point being, everyone now knows, thanks to him, and because just the events of Endgame, because people died, everyone kind of publicly knew that, and then Scott Lang kind of filled in the blanks and kind of probably got to know most of the heroes, and it's become like, the popularity of superheroes is kind of skyrocketed, and so is Captain Marvel. Like, people now know who Captain Marvel is, and that struck a chord with Kamala Khan. Now this is interesting though. Kamala Khan, she kind of calls out the BS with Captain Marvel. Like, where was she all this time? And
Right,
she
right.
says, "Well, that's she has other stuff going on. I love she's kind of defending the Captain Marvel thing." And but I liked how we took that and we spun it into, it's kind of a surprise out of nowhere. And that Captain Marvel came in, she really helped out during the battle, and that kind of inspired her. For, like, people are capable of surprises, and can, like, nobody seemingly can come out of nowhere and kind of do big things.
Sure,
So,
sure.
so again, I can grab onto why she likes Captain Marvel, which already is kind of the uphill battle of this show if you really think about it. This girl's absolutely obsessed and modeled after Captain Marvel, who is not the fan favorite of the MCU bunch.
No. And honestly, Dragon, I feel like in some ways this very much could be like the road to the Captain Marvel redemption, because we know
Yep,
that she's going to play a big role in the second Captain Marvel
yep.
movie.
It's going to be her and Monica Rambeau. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm optimistic. I think this is basically like the recovery tour for Captain Marvel, and I'm
I too,
honestly kind of here for it.
I think it's kind of like the more necessary
I
version
think
of
it's
what
like the treatment that Eternals is not going to get.
most likely. I mean, I think it's kind of like the Doctor
Eternals is
Strange
just going
thing.
to be left in the dust.
I think it's kind of like the
Jon
Doctor.
Snow's going to be like, "Okay, guys, I'm off to fight with Blade. See you later."
I'm thinking it's going to be. I think it's ultimately it's going to be like the Doctor Strange thing, where the more we see and the more we like him. Not that we had a problem with Doctor Strange from the get go or anything, but it's just that the more when Captain Marvel's been reappearing, again, she got a little better in Endgame, and then hopefully going forward with another movie, thanks to these supplemental characters, kind of boosting her up, perhaps better.
Yeah, we'll see.
So so Kamala herself and her family. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so Dragon, really quick before we get into our boy,
Yeah.
I have to point out the moment that sold me on the show, where it was like, okay, like I'm actually pretty invested in this. Is
I
the
know what
Hulk
it is.
scene?
Is the what?
The Hulk scene.
Yes, the sad Hulk scene. Yeah.
Yes, sad Hulk. Oh my God, sad Hulk, Dragon.
If only I wish someone would do like an edit where it's going to be, and they could. To be fair, they could probably the lonely man. So it'd be great.
Here's why I love that scene. I love that scene specifically because it goes from just like when I see the costume, I'm just like, oh my God, that's both adorable and hilarious and totally humiliating.
Yeah.
And then obviously we make the turn where it does get, we have the legit like sad Bruce Banner moment.
So two things. Just one, be really funny if they could do an edit of this scene with that. But it's kind of fun when you think about it. The She-Hulk show. Anytime she gets sad in the show, they just play the sad Hulk theme. At least
oh my God, dude!
in an edit
the
or something.
MCU needs to use the sad Hulk theme at some point for something.
Well, they used it once.
Yeah,
in the first Incredible Hulk movie, they used it once. Anyway. So, but anyway, absolutely. So just to talk about that character and the Hulk scene. So, now, the little that I do know about Miss Marvel, I do know her mainly in conjunction with the main supporting character that really matters for her, at least in my eyes, is her father's
okay.
Abu, who of course is the sad Hulk father. Yeah, so he was always like the standout from the little I've seen. He always like kind of a neat character, and I love that, like, seeing this show. It's like, oh my God, absolutely
Disney dads, dude. Disney dads.
So everything that was like kind of like remote, he didn't have a big role in the thing that so he was at the top. It's very interesting, Tiki. So a huge component of this episode actually has a lot to do with my main entry point for Miss Marvel, which was the Avengers video game they put out. The PS4 game.
Yeah.
And basically Kamala is your main character in that game, and it starts off with her doing not Avengers Con, which we'll get to, but Avengers Day, which essentially was a celebration with the Avengers, and her and her father attended.
Okay,
and it's pretty much the same idea, only it's more of kind of like a fair meets a Comic-Con. It's kind of like a little bit of
And
kind
I
of
assume
affair.
they did not go dressed as daddy and daughter Hulk.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't think of that. So that's the thing. It was the point being that guy. He had a like kind of a lot of like, okay, this guy seems really cool, and then they go in full tilt with the here. Oh man, this guy's such a good father, and it seems like the dynamic is, she's it's the daddy's girl and mommy's boy, so to speak. And
Uh-huh.
that it's very much like Saagar is the apple of his mother's eye, and
So Dragon,
Kamala is.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
And Kamala is very much, Abu is very, very mindful and loves his daughter.
So first of all, you're gonna have to remind me, like folks, you're gonna have to forgive us. We are so used to seeing this man's face and just calling him Saagar. Dragon, what's the character's name?
I believe it's Amir. It's Amir.
Amir. Okay, let's try and stick with that just to give Saagar his due as the character. You know
Well, I'm
what I
not.
mean?
I don't think I'm going to have a problem with that. You, on the other hand, I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I will try and stick with it. But Dragon, I think Amir, the reason why I think he's kind of like a key character here is I basically think he's the more softened Olga Pataki.
Well, he's the less over the top Olga Pataki, but yeah.
Yeah, like there's certainly like I feel like there's love there, but I feel like Kamala, she definitely has some resentment. Like he's got his life all together, he's getting married, and it's like, and there's clearly like obviously kind of like a generation gap between them as far as like the age difference. I'm guessing about 10 years or so. And so I really do think that throughout the show we are going to use this guy to kind of sort of be our generational bridge between Kamala and her parents. And I really truly think that he's going to be like, maybe this is just me being a fanboy for the actor. It really could be, but I don't know, man. I could see this guy being like at least a key piece to the family dynamics.
Well, I mean, with the family dynamic in itself, the idea is he's what they want for Kamala. Everything that Kamala's being faced with at school for look to your future essentially is represented by the golden child that is her brother, at least in her mother's eyes. So yeah, that's the thing. So we have Amir we've set up that he's getting married. They're all preparing for the wedding. I believe it also might be like a cultural thing. It might be like, I don't know if it's an arranged marriage. I don't know if that's still a practice. I think it still is. So I think that's the idea, that he's living up to the expectations.
There was a guy on Survivor last season, and he was indeed in an arranged marriage. So yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, they're definitely still doing it. It hasn't completely gone the wayside yet. All right, so yeah, point being, yeah. So there's that. A little side note, especially on the rewatch, is the idea. Amir. The implication I got is that Amir sweet talked the parents into that Hulk thing. I don't think he said like, "Hey, dress up as the Hulk," but I think he said, "Hey, let her go."
No, that's absolutely the implication I got with Amir talked to us about. He like Amir kind of was like trying to play politician here in a good way. In a productive way where he's like, "All right, like meet her halfway, go to the con with her." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it wasn't what Kamala wanted for sure, but it was the genuine effort that counted, and I feel like the genuine effort is going to kind of show through as we move forward.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about we'll bridge back to the Hulk scene to kind of like put the fine point on it. But to get there, let's talk about the mother. Let's talk about. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation on her. I'm sure. Maniba. Sorry, the mom. So, very doting, because initially it's like the whole, it's all the instructor's fault for the car accident, which, during the driving lesson, which I think, so this is my reservation in that. So we're really harping on, Kamala's like wrapped up in her fantasy world. And I don't know how much that's translating, like how much it's like, man, we're really rushing this girl to the finish line of like, well, she seems to be doing well, just well enough on her own and doing everything. I don't think she's that distracted. I mean, to be fair, I don't know, like she kind of gunned it the wrong way. Yeah, I don't really know how that happened. I mean, maybe that's like because she's wrapped up in the fantasy. We didn't really do any of the fantasy like elements in that scene.
Well, I think I bought that a little bit more than you did. I think it's less fantasy. It's more so just kind of like a head in the cloud sort of thing. And Dragon, I was one of those kids in high school where I literally like all my notebooks that should have been filled with notes were filled with doodles. So it's like I could actually relate to the style quite a bit.
Well, no, I don't have a problem with the style. I'm just saying I wish there was like something to note that she was like head in the clouds or like fantasizing during that driving scene. That's kind of like anyway. So regardless, we see her be very doting. Like, well, you can just we were hoping maybe you could drive and do some stuff to help plan the brother's wedding, but still, you can just go with me and do stuff, kind of mommy daughter sort of stuff. So my fear ultimately is that the mother could come across unlikable and be a problem character because of this whole like fantasy head in the clouds thing being a problem. Where again, so far it doesn't really seem to be like an issue in which they would be harping on it, but more so I think the mother's overreacting about the Avengers con. That to me is the big problem. It's like really, I mean, it's like the most harmless thing in the world. It's not like she wants to go to like overnight to another city or anything, or like I don't know, like want to like go to a bar or like anything like
Right,
that, or
right.
like a concert even. It's like it's a convention. It's an Avengers convention, the most wholesome thing in the MCU. I don't know. It just seems like, and also, why I don't understand what she really has against Captain Marvel, because apparently it's like, well, your daughter clearly likes Captain Marvel, and yet you wanna push the Hulk on her. I don't really, at least to a great moment. Don't get me
No,
wrong. I just
that's
don't.
true. That is kind of weird because you would think even by her standards, Captain Marvel would be like the more traditional figure rather than the Hulk.
And she makes it sound like Captain Marvel like dresses kind of trampy or something, which I don't really like. I don't get because she dresses like like a head to toe like wetsuit essentially.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's what the Hulk scene is fantastic, but again, that kind of flies in my face there of like, man, Mom might be kind of our so far she might be our villain of the show, and not quite in the interesting way I'm hoping for, at least by
I mean,
one episode.
I'm willing to see where they go with her.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's only one episode. It can't really make. I'm
Sure.
just saying it's kind of a storm cloud. I'm hoping clears up by midday.
So Dragon, we have to talk about Bruno. No, no, no.
What do you got against Bruce? The kid made her glowing gloves. He's a nice boy. Leave him alone.
I just think that he's kind of like the he very much kind of feels like a Disney Channel or Nickelodeon like sidekick character. Like he very much I don't know.
Well, I mean, you say that, but is that a bad thing?
Nah, I don't necessarily think it. I don't know, Dragon. I'm not quite
Oh, she
like
has a side.
I like their chemistry, but I like their chemistry as friends, and this kind of goes back to my whole like, why can't we just have platonic
Well,
friendships?
Tiki, I didn't get an inkling of romance here. I just saw him as being friendly. I don't really
I
know what
thought
you're.
there was an inkling of romance at the end, and I was like, no, god damn it, don't do it.
I don't. Well, and so far they haven't. So I don't know.
Well, I guess that's my barometer then. It's like I do like the friends thing, I just don't think we need to force a romance into it. So
Yeah, okay, well, it's more of a wait and see, Tiki. So I don't know if we can call him like a problem character yet, but I guess Stormcloud approach for you as
Dragon, I
well.
don't know. It's just a vibe with him, man. I like it just like yeah, the Nickelodeon thing does bother me because it kind of clashes with the tone of the rest of the show for me. Like
I don't know.
he just feels like he was thrown out of like iCarly or something like that.
All right, well, I don't know. So
Like
far, he
especially with
seems.
the inventions and stuff. I mean, the inventions are fine, but like, and I like the gloves and I like the support, but I don't know. Honestly, the big reach I had was with the security camera and the whole that whole setup. And the only reason I had a problem with it was just because it literally felt like a Nickelodeon scheme.
Well, yeah, but it worked.
It worked, but that doesn't mean it wasn't cartoonish.
Hmm.
I don't know, Dragon. I just feel like this kid could potentially
Well, it's a very again. You saw our frame device with the animation style. There's a cartoony element to this show.
right. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Let's give it a wait and see approach. See if anything kind of like develops or not.
I don't like hate him or anything. I just like I feel like out of all the characters, he was the one I was least compelled by on screen. So
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll. I don't know if that. I can't recall if the girl who she saves in the episode becomes like another supporting. Like I think it's like a trio of friends. I think
I could see
with
that.
her. So I'm not. So I guess we'll find out. Anyway, so so again, just to harken back and then transition to the Avengers kind of it all. With the again that sad Hulk scene, just one, I love the kind of the Pakistani infused like version of like they turn kind of like a Pakistani traditional
Yes,
attire into a Hulk thing.
absolutely. And I love the cultural stuff in this show. And honestly, like, I really feel like it's pretty natural. Like, yeah, they do have they are trying to diversify the MCU for sure, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing if they're doing it in a, culturally relevant way and being respectful about it.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad thing at all. I have one hesitation with one thing. I have to wait and see exactly what the explanation is going to be because my assumption is that there's one thing I'm not sure about. with one thing they did in this show. They made a big alteration to they made an alteration to the character. I'm not sure about. Her power set.
Well, let's build to that with the
Yeah.
Avengers Con.
So anyways, point being that again, Abuj, when he burst in there, he's doing that whole thing. It's so great, but it's so heartbreaking when you can see the tears.
It's
Like
such a great tone shift, Dragon. And you know me, I am rough on the tone shifts, but like when they land, and that one landed.
And again, it just bothers me. Of like, don't why just go as that's the Hulk again, Marvel? Why can't we do that? Why are we all sad now? Come on,
Right.
Mom, why are you bumming the room out? That's a good compromise. Just take him with you. It works wonders.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they don't want to bring Bruno. No.
How great was her? You done?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just not, anyway. The fantasy sequence in which she does like they lay out the plan and she does like the superhero landing and she does like the whole Miss America thing when she wins. That was really great.
It is really fun, and I feel like that bit of Saagar at the table where it's like, oh my god, I love my sister. I think she should be an only child. It's like there's the just giggle at Saagar right there.
Exactly, and he was doing like the finger guns and it was animated for a second. They're all wearing like the I Heart Kamala.
I was just like, there he is.
There's our boy. That's what got him the role right there. They saw those JGIV as Tiki. We may have helped. No, I'm kidding. We had no impact on anything whatsoever. But like, no, they watched us talk about Saagar.
I don't know. We did the grab bags.
That's what
we
I'm saying.
Played our small part.
Like some intern at Marvel Studios watches our stuff. Which
Dragon, if anyone watches Succession, we're like cousin Greg. All right.
Anyway. So point being, so again, the plan is to get to Avengers Con. So lo and behold, Avengers Con. So my favorite thing ever. So many MCU references, celebrating the history.
Literally, as soon as they walk in, Star Spangled Man with the plan.
Do you remember why?
You know that would be right there.
Now you remember why Star Spangled Man's playing, don't you?
Oh God, Dragon! I'm sure there's a lot of Easter eggs and callbacks and references. Like,
no, this is like the coolest thing about the whole Avengers Con. You're gonna love this.
Okay.
Because Kamala is from New Jersey. The whole place is set at the rebuilt Camp Lehigh, which is where Steve Rogers. It was boot camp for Steve Rogers in First Avenger.
Oh, right. So that's why they had all the war memorabilia.
Yeah. So the idea after
Winter
Soldier bombed at least a bunker, if not all of Camp Lehigh, and they've rebuilt it since Winter Soldier, and they've kind of transformed it into kind of this kind of fairground or like kind of.
That's clever. That's clever. Yeah.
So it's become.
And that is one thing that I will give this show is that they do have a lot of connections to the MCU, but I feel like they're pretty cleverly tied to the background where you don't really need to know them, but if you know them, it kind of enhances things. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I think it's just so interesting that we have Moon Knight, which had no MCU references, like Littleton.
Yeah, Moon Knight is, I don't know. The more I think about Moon Knight, I mean, it's like, I'm glad Jacob Gulliver had fun with it, but like I said, man, episodes 4 and 5 were the meat of that show. And then we don't want to talk about.
Okay, my point is the fact that show kept it really close to the chest. Like, no, we're going to be really severed from the MCU. And then, of course, next show we get first episode, all the Easter eggs that Moon Knight did not have.
Dragon, it's so trippy that we have this and Rescue Rangers within the same kind of calendar month, right?
Yes, it's crazy. So there's so many really cool things. I mean, design-wise, and this, I'm sure they took notes from Funko, because Funko has like... Now, Funko, I'm not saying has a con, but Funko has like the actual like main building that Funko has. They have like this giant, awesome like multi-layered department store thing. Right, each section is dedicated. There's a Marvel section, which you have like a Stan Lee kiosk. It's like an old comic book stand that Stan Lee is like a maquette behind.
Oh, nice.
You have like basically the whole Marvel section. You got a Star Wars section, a Disney section. I think maybe a Harry Potter section. I'm not sure. Point me, you got sections for everything. Anyway, regardless. The fact is they have like giant standees of things, like giant size things. So the fact you have a giant man, which by the way, that giant man display is from Ant-Man 2, because it's him with the little boat in the water.
Is it really? Oh man.
So the idea is they looked at the news of like, oh, look at when Giant Man, like the tallest giant man's ever been in front of that little ferry ride thing. So they recreated that, and you have like Hulk smashing things, like a giant Hulk display, and so many great Easter eggs. Like they're selling all Ant-Man memorabilia. They're let's say you got like a little Asgardian throne thing. You got like shirts and merch and like fan art and people cosplaying every which way you go. My favorite detail, I wonder if you caught my favorite Easter egg of the
Okay.
whole thing. I forget if it's like I want to say it's a book that got turned into a documentary, but I think they might be selling like just copies of the documentary on DVD. I'm not sure, but it's because it says documentary on like the poster and on the cover of the thing. Uh, Peter Quill has like either a tell-all book or a documentary. Basically, it's about
Oh
Peter
my
Quill, the
god.
Star Lord.
Is it like a biopic,
Yeah,
maybe?
I mean, essentially, no. It's like a documentary autobiography of some
Oh
kind. So
man.
basically, it's like the Star Lord
I'm gonna
story.
tell you about the time I went to Epcot.
So that's the thing. It's like Star Lord's memoirs somehow recorded. So that's really
Uh-huh.
it's like a captain's log for Star Lord almost.
I noticed some Groot memorabilia.
Yeah, and you'll notice the Groot stuff. It says Tree, Mr. Tree.
Oh, okay, that's funny.
Because I get the sense the Guardians didn't stick around, and all was left
yeah, right,
all
right.
that was left again is most likely from Scott Lang, like what he was able to
Uh-huh.
convey, and whoever else may have been willing to interview. Which, given how separated the Avengers are right now, probably wouldn't be super tell all. Yeah. All right.
All right. So yeah, anything else about the con before we get to the big showpiece?
Oh, again, I already mentioned again, it was very reminiscent of the Avengers Day thing from the game. So, also, again, just the fact that was a really big thing. I think I'd like to think the best thing about that game was it sold a lot of people on Miss Marvel. So, I'd like to think that was an intentional choice, but I don't know. So, yeah, that brings us to like the big meat and potatoes of the con, which is they have the costume contest in which you're homemade. It looks pretty decent, not as good as her fantasy costume, but it looks really good. A little Captain Marvel kind of get up that she made. And she puts on
It was kind of
this.
frustrating that we didn't get to see the light up gloves on stage.
Yeah, but she had something. The idea she replaced it with something a little more dazzling.
No, I get that. I get that it was a plot point, but still, I really like the light up gloves,
Me
Dragon. That
too.
is the one thing I will give Bruno.
Yeah. So she puts on in place of the light up gloves, which I was like screaming, "No, come on, go back for the light up gloves! No, no!" She puts on the bangle. So the bangle was sent from family. Now this and apparently the mother knows what it is. So the bangle essentially is like this little bracelet thing that this is the big change, by the way. So
Mm.
traditionally, from what I understand, I know the game did this just with like a different way that it happens, but her powers come from an Inhumans tie-in.
Oh dear.
So they made two. So two
Better
changes
call
happen.
Black Bolt.
So that's the thing. So they made two changes, I assume, because of mainly, if you look at it, technically for Doctor Strange 2 stuff, just given they're both in this movie.
Right.
So the main thing is Kamala's powers are she can stretch, which obviously she's in competition with that one, Mr. Fantastic. So
And
she's
just
like,
on the TV budget, I am really glad they did not go that route.
so that's the thing. So that's one thing. I'm like, okay, you want to change up like how she stretches. In this case, she did like they gave her the power of constructs instead of like just stretching and morphing. She can change her size and more and like stretch her arms. That's her power. She's kind of like Ant-Man and Mr. Fantastic mixed together.
Uh-huh.
So hence all the Ant-Man references, by the way.
Right,
There's like a
right.
lot of Pym similarities in the anyway. So that's the main change, and again, her powers came from Terrigen Mist, which essentially is what gave the Inhumans all their powers. Which Agents of Shield did all sorts of Terrigen Mist and human stuff as well as the Inhuman show. So I'm guessing they wanted to put distance between that, not wanting to explain the Inhumans and the Terrigen Mist thing again. So the thing is, we don't know what exactly the deal with her powers are yet. I'm assuming it's mystical because of the Bengal thing. I think they're probably going to go with like a southeastern kind of lore or like kind of like a Hinduism sort of thing. Which I mean, I don't know how I feel about that yet until we get like more from it.
Ooh, you know
Because
what's problematic about that? Not anything on a cultural point of view. I probably shouldn't even use the word problematic,
what?
but
What's the issue?
uh Dragon, it kind of goes back to the issue I had with Moon Knight. The whole like, okay, now we're throwing Egyptian gods, like basically all the theological gods are in the MCU now. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I don't think that is necessarily because again, you have so many different cultures and mythologies. I mean, it makes sense we're going to do something with them, but ultimately, Eternals is what gums up the works in a lot of the other mythologies. So that's
I
the thing.
know, and I hate it.
So,
God, like I am so mad that the Eternals exist.
so that begs the question here. I
Are
mean,
you happy, Jon Snow?
well, it's not his fault.
I know. I just like that he's the fall guy.
No, Chloe Zhao's the fall guy.
No, you're right.
Yeah, she should be
Take that Oscar back, Chloe.
yeah, put it on the shelf and put it behind a glass case,
Oh
but not in
God,
her
what if
house.
Jonathan Banks had a job to just like sternly and firmly revoke the Oscar from Chloe
It's
Zhao?
just the Academy is just really nice about like, oh man, we're non-confrontation. You saw how we handled that one thing
Oh
this
my
year.
God.
We didn't want to handle like the last time violence happened at the Oscars. We can't get our hands in that. So who do we have to send? Who's our biggest gun we can send in doing the cleanest way possible? Jonathan Banks, and they
Oh
send
my
him. He
God.
knocks on the door. Hello, Ms. Zhao, is that you? Yes. Hello, Ms. Zhao. Listen, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to need to take. The Academy has asked me to revoke your Oscar for damage that has been done to the MCU, so I'm going to need to
Oh
take
my
that
God.
back. And one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to give that back to me and I'm on my way, or I'm going to have to come in.
Oh man.
So,
Oh, I just want to write a sketch about that dragon anyways.
anyway, no, in all seriousness, though, so this begs the question because also Shang-Chi had this as well, where again, Shang-Chi's thing, we still don't know precisely where it comes from. We can only assume it may have an Eternals connect as well with the whole Doom
Uh,
thing. We don't know because best case scenario is going to be Fin Fang Foom, but again, I don't know. So it begs the question, I think the only way the Bangle thing could work for me, at least just looking at it from the outside, I think we could find a way to make it work is that if it, like Shang-Chi's rings, potentially, it came from space, only this having a correlation with Captain Marvel.
right, I could see that. I could see that.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
that would, I mean, it might be a
I
little
actually
bit
really
of a,
hope that's the direction they take it.
I mean, yes, it might be a little bit of like convenient with the whole. Man, she really likes Captain Marvel, and she happened to luck into that. But I mean, again, just given
Yeah.
her whole thing, it's like you got to give it a liberty there. So it's either that or
I'll give it like not an enthusiastic we don't care, but like like a meddling like we don't care.
I mean, you give it like a Destiny thing. It was Destiny.
Right, right.
Destiny. What?
God.
That's like it's kind of like three options: it's either Captain Marvel, the Eternals, which would be, I mean, at least it's
Oh,
something.
please
But
no.
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying at least the Eternals, like okay, so at least it's not just like another like we're going into like mythology and stuff. But then we have again, if we do make it like a Hinduism thing, it just feels like I don't. Just going from science to magic just kind of bothers me like that.
I feel ya. I feel ya. And I feel like we have more than enough like Hindu representation just through the stuff that the family does, and I
Yeah.
feel like it is very natural. And we're gonna get the wedding, which I'm sure that'll be a very culturally significant episode when we get to that.
Oh
So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't necessarily think we need to muddy the waters with Hindu gods, Dragon. I think Paige will be very upset about that prospect.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She would be. Yeah.
All right.
Here's the thing. Paige Novak. Here's what's happening. He's in the.
Oh God.
She has like a force thing that happens. It's almost like that. It's like that. It's like that Tom Selleck gag from the Family Guy Star Wars. Back the something dark side one where it's like Bangle magic, and you just have Paige like look up like while she's reading a book or something in bed or somewhere. Says, "Is someone muddying the waters?"
Okay, this is another sketch that we should write, Dragon. We need to get into the sketch writing business, anyways.
But if only Saagar will return our calls.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. Honestly, legitimately seeing Saagar like on screen in the MCU kind of like is sort of lit a fire under my ass. Like I could do sketch comedy, anyways.
Right, and as Joshua Towns is rolling his eyes, oh, these chumps.
Love you, Josh. Anyways.
Anyway, so point being, the way we do visualize her powers, it is potentially interesting. I mean, we gave her a way to do energy blast like Captain Marvel, like because she's there.
I kind of like the way I view it is like she kind of generates like force fields. Like it's almost kind of like Violet's power, except without the invisibility.
Well, I think the easier comparison to it's literally like Green Lantern. She can construct things like Green Lantern.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's kind of like a mix of that and maybe like a force feeling. They're all kind of it's color coded like Green Lantern too, so it kind of makes me think.
Uh-huh.
Point being, so anyway, we did like an homage to the extendo hand, when she catches the girl with like an energy construct. So that's probably going to be her main thing. That, and I wonder if now she can grow like Giant Man. So I hope we're not just going to do another kaiju fight or something. But that's the interesting thing, though, Tiki.
Oh,
We have not set up a villain at all in episode 1, which that's the thing I'm not familiar with. Here's the thing: they name dropped like a deep cut Easter egg to one of Miss Marvel's bad guys. Like there's a giant sign when they're doing the little rooftop scene, her and Bruno, and it says like the something inventor or something inventions, which essentially is like one of her villains. That's the thing, Miss Marvel's villains aren't really like a known entity, from what I understand.
I mean,
So,
I would be fine with it just kind of being a family drama, honestly.
I mean, me too. I just wanted to note that it's kind of unique that the show has
It is.
done,
It
as the
is.
other shows have not done yet. So,
Yeah.
also, who I'd love to see Kamala, meet up with, who she has a lot in common with?
Who?
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop.
Yeah,
That'd be a good crossover. Yeah.
She could be besties with Kate Bishop. Anyway, so last thing we did have you do know we had a mid-credit scene, right? You did see it.
Oh no, shit! I didn't.
Ah.
Okay, tell me about it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so
is it just Saagar being awesome?
No. Well, no. No. It was they set up damage control. So here's the thing.
Oh, okay.
The closest thing we might have the bad guys. And again, if the best way we're going to get to do like a show it's just about the family drama. The closest thing we'll have to a bad guy would just be like the government force, maybe kind of looking in on her, which is the damage control, who are kind of persecuting Spider-Man at the top of
right.
No Way Home. So it's literally the same actor, like the guy who was interrogating Ned and May. That guy, he showed up.
Is it the guy that we thought was going to be Matt Murdock?
Well, for a moment, like again, obviously we were very instantly diffused, like, oh,
the
thank
arms
goodness, he's
dragon, the infamous Murdock arms.
Yeah, that's him. He's the arms guy. So yes, the Murdock arms guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he
hey guys, I could be a good character too.
So essentially, the folks at Damage Control, like a lady showed him the video from the Avengers, kind of like, man, someone has powers. We should look into this.
Ooh, okay.
That's where it ended.
All right. So yeah, just to wrap it up with my final thoughts, I am, I'm optimistic about it. I'm not going to say I'm like thrilled about it, but I'm optimistic. I think this is a nice change of direction for the MCU shows. I like the fact that it seems like it's a little more small scale. And of course, Dragon Saga is it's impossible to look at that character in any sort of objective way. We clearly have a bias for it, but I don't know. I'm loving what I'm seeing from him so far, and he has more screen time than I was expecting. So, we'll see where they go. I mean, he is going to be the center point of probably a big episode. We'll see. So yeah, I'm enthusiastic, Dragon. This is the first time in quite a while where I'm legitimately like looking forward to a new episode of MCU stuff. So yeah, we'll see how it goes from here.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on your end?
I'll just talk about briefly just the image that we have with Saagar too. Just like I just love the acting in this scene too. Basically, she's kind of giving her Ming Lee-esque kind of like plea to the parents to do the thing, which cons her in this case Avengers Con, and doesn't go well. She just drags her brother in there and just does like this adorable like squeezy face, like she squeezes the beer. I'm sure if Joshua Thomas is watching this, which I hope he is, just for the side. You'd imagine he'd have to, right?
I'd hope so. Yeah, I would hope so.
I know Joshy doesn't watch all the MCU shows, the Disney.
But
Plus
I'm to the point where I am kind of like not watching I'm not watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, so it's like I'm not really watching all of the Disney Plus stuff, but I certainly came for this because of Saagar.
Yeah, so it's the fact that she's grabbing the famous beard and is making her look cute. Like, oh yes, mom is little angel.
Oh God,
adorable. Yes, I mean it's in general. Like, I'm feeling it, man. I just I hope we don't fall into certain traps that other shows would succumb to. Like I don't want to make just mom the bad guy, at least without it. Like I don't want to do.
Can you imagine if mom was the bad guy and there was like a giant kaiju battle with the mom?
Well, I'd say Pixar should contact their lawyer. That's what they do that. They go, okay, look, there's
right.
There's homage, and then we just completely stole Turning Red.
I mean, honestly, this does kind of have the framework of the first act of turning red, Dragon.
I mean, that's the thing. But I do, however, with the mother being the villain thing, that is kind of ironic, given that Hawkeye, what we did with our other like fan favorite, who was Vera Farmiga, factoring into that show. So again, hopefully we're gonna I don't know. I'm hoping. I think you're going to be right at the end of the day. I think we're going to like buy her back. It's not like a thing we buy her back in like that last episode thing, or like we just wrap it up and say, "Oh, and we bought her back." I don't want it to be like a drag. The wedding episode. That's the worst case scenario. That wedding was be like shoved into the ending, just given the pattern. But I'm hoping it is going to be like a center point, like an episode 4 or 5.
I hope it's going to be like maybe it's just because I've been watching Succession, but if this was Succession, it's like you bet your ass that wedding would be like the season finale.
Well, again, it's an important thing, and it's a very big cultural thing. So you'd imagine it would have to be like on Showcase, and it'll probably be like Kamala is got someone's going.
I would hope we get a whole episode surrounding it.
Yeah. I'm gonna be really impressed if they do this show without like a lot of like big villainy action, like big.
I would too. I would too. And you know me, Dragon. That's like one of the main reasons I'm kind of checked out on these Disney Plus shows. It's like the fight of it all.
Now that said, she does have to save people, and we do have to at least see her fight like a little bit. Of course. We got to give her at least some petty crime to foil. Like a bike snatcher or something.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting balancing act, but with the style, with the characters, and with our boy.
Yeah. Well, I hope Kevin's. I think well, no, he rarely does he not like anything. But Kevin Smith, just given this is a Jersey girl, literally, I imagine he'd get a real kick out of this.
I would hope so. Yeah.
All right, well, overall, yeah, I'm feeling.
Oh, and also, folks, I forgot to mention this up at the top, but if you're curious about, we keep going on and on about Saagar, I have a playlist linked, and it's just 5. We could put more on, Dragon, if you want to suggest some more, off air, you can. But it's basically we call it the Saga of Saagar, and it's basically the best of Saagar on Just Giglet sketches. So if you're curious to see the roots of the actor who portrays Amir, look no further. All right. Say that's it, right, Dragon?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano y mano. Just bless. And us.
Da, 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 da,
Da, da, da, da.
da, 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 da.